Chapter 16, Super Secret Test Day. The next day, when George and Harold arrived at school, Mr. Crump was overjoyed to see them. He met them at the front door, shook their hands excitedly, and gave them both big sweaty hugs. "This can't be good," George said. "You're wrong," said Mr. Crump. "It's the best day ever. It's the day I've been waiting for since I met you two horrible people. Let's all go to my office, shall we? I've got some refreshments." As they walked down the long hallway toward Mr. Crump's office, several teachers patted Mr. Crump on the back and congratulated him. The entire school staff seemed elated. "We're doomed," said Harold. When they finally got to Mr. Crump's office, he plopped down into his chair and spun around a few times, giggling with glee. After a few minutes, George started to become impatient. "I thought you said we're going to be refreshments. Oh, I thought you said that we were going to be refreshments," George said. "Not for you," shouted Mr. Crump angrily. As he slammed his fist on his desk, he opened his drawer, pulled out a warm diet soda, and popped it open. Then he leaned back in his chair and sipped loudly as he chuckled to himself. "I just want to soak this moment in," he said with delight as fizzy brown Folsom acid dribbled down into his chins. "You boys have really messed up this time," Mr. Crump laughed. "You skipped school on the Super Secret Test Day." "Super Secret Test Day?" said Harold. "What does that mean?" "I thought you never asked," Mr. Crump said gleefully. "You see, I've been looking for a way to separate you two kids for years now, but I never figured out how to do it until yesterday. Then it came to me in a flash of inspiration. Super Secret Test Day!" "What's so secret about it?" asked George. You should be asking what's super about it," said Mr. Crump joyfully, "because it's just might be the crowning adjustment of my entire career." George and Harold looked at each other nervously. Suddenly, the door opened, and the school's math teacher, Mrs. Cowender, entered the room, and she smeared down at George and Harold and poked her tongue out at them as she walked by. "Here are the figures you asked for," she said, handing Mr. Crump a large manila envelope. "Thanks, son." "And that," Mr. Crump said. He smelled the envelope like he was arming the area of the German meal. It's a real shame you boys missed school yesterday," Mr. Crump said. "Your teachers hated to do it, but they have to give you both zeros on all your tests." "But we studied really hard," said Harold. "Can we do makeup tests?" No, Mr. Crump said, grinning evilly from ear to ear. "There will be no more makeup tests." "Don't worry, Harold," said George. "We'll do very good on our X-Waves this year. We can bring our grades back up. Final exams have been canceled for this year, said Mr. Crump cheerfully. Isn't that wonderful news? You and all your classmates will be 7 more weeks of school, no homework, no quizzes, and no studying. Your grades for the whole school year have already been concluded. Oh no, said George. We're going to flunk the 4th grade. Actually, it's worse than that, said Mr. Crump, his teeth glistening in a grin so wide it seemed to stretch beyond the boundaries on his face. Normally, you wouldn't get this information until summer vacation begins, but I thought I'd be nice and show you your grades early. Isn't that fun? He opened the manila envelope and slid the 2 report cards toward George and Harold. Quickly, the boys opened up and scanned them. George's final grade for this year was 62.7%. A terrible grade, to be sure, but still passing grade. George would move on to 5th grade next year. Harold, whose grades were not quite good as George's, wasn't so lucky. Harold's final grade was 59.7%. Harold has failed. Oh no! Harold moaned as his eyes began to water, filled with tears. I'm going to flunk the 4th grade. Yeah, ain't that too bad? Said Mr. Crump with delighted twinkle in his eyes. He looked up at Mrs. Cowler, and they both burst in fits of laughter. There's nothing you can do about it either, Miss Calculator sneered. You 2 brats will be in different grades next year. You'll never see each other in school anymore. You have different teachers, different classes, and different friends.